Now I'm sure all of us have heard this quote. Some people are born great, some people achieve greatness, and some people have greatness thrust upon them. Now, normally everyone will quickly associate this with Iams, and that is true, but another person who applies to just as much is good old girl, Enri Emmot. The little village girl that ended up becoming the Goblin General and effectively controlling the strongest army in the Reach, minus Nazareth. The Goblin army is stronger than Riesti's kingdom, the Holy Kingdom, and the Empire. So, she's the leader of the strongest army in the vicinity. Now, ever since Ainz came to the New World and he went to her little village and she met him and he gave her the Goblin Horn, her life has been like not spiraling out of control for the worse, but spiraling out of control for the better, if you would say. Now, when he gave her the Horn of the Goblin General, she obviously used the first one, got the small troop of goblins to come, and they immediately started working on the village defenses. Now, when she was the only one out of the whole village to refer to the goblins by their actual names and not just call them Mr. Goblin like most of the villagers did. So, of course, the goblins really respect her. They actually respect her more than they respect the village, because if it came down to it early on in the show, they would have let the village be destroyed as long as she was alive. But that's not gonna fly anymore since she's the leader of the village. She has the bigger army and all that, but we'll get into all that later. Let's start from the beginning, okay? So in the first season, once Ainz gives her the fucking Horn of the Goblin General, she blows it, calls the army of goblins. They get to know each other. They start improving the quality of life in the village for the better, building fences, taming wolves, farming, helping all the old people in the village, etc., etc. And pretty much village life became better, especially since they were exempt from attacks, since their village was attacked by bandits, even though we know it was the fucking slain theocracy that set everything up. But that's besides the point. Now, for being a small village girl, she's actually very beautiful. Not as beautiful as Nabe or anyone else from Nazareth, but she's very beautiful for being a small village girl. And thanks to her healthy lifestyle, she actually has a pretty good looking body, at least according to her husband, you know. But since she was a farmer, she always worked hard, and she has a little stats into her strength. Now we're gonna get into that later, which is gonna explain why she was able to summon a whole army of goblins, because she didn't know that by using this horn, she was actually leveling herself up in her commander class, giving them orders, telling them what to do, constantly working on the farm, doing strength-related exercises, anything of that nature. All of this stuff was actually helping her, leveling up her stats, so when it came to it, when she had to blow the horn again, the whole troop came. But let's get all the small stuff out of the way. We'll talk about that later. It's like the most important, juicy part of the information everyone loves about her character. So after Ainz meets her and gives her the Horn of the Goblin General, gives her the red potion, heals her, she remembers that. So during the Dark Warrior arc, when Ainz comes back as Momon and the Adventurers group, she tells Inferior, I almost called him Enri, tells Inferior that, yeah, Ainz Ulgaon gave me a red potion. So he immediately put two and two together. It was like, oh, this guy is that guy. Both super strong, both have red potions, both popped up out of nowhere. So he puts two and two together with that, and moving on. So moving on from that, that was pretty much the start of her commander class. It was like the beginning of everything for her. So moving on for that, we'll go into the Two Leaders arc. Now this is one of the most important moments of her life. So she normally starts her day doing the same old things, and one of the Goblin Riders show up. And they tell them that things are changing in the forest. We don't know if we can still go out there and do our expeditions and et cetera, or whatever. But Enri was she was thinking to herself, the goblins do so much for me. If I can go pick these rare herbs that my village obtains during this time of the year, I can get them better armor and better skills. I should also mention earlier, when she was chopping food or whatever in the kitchen, she actually shows her strength and she breaks the knife. And that's when Jugum, I believe, tells her that she really should control her strength because they don't have any blacksmiths in the village, at least not at the moment, until Ein subjugates the fucking dwarves. I take that back. He doesn't subjugate the dwarves. He writes a peace treaty with them. They come and live in the village, okay? Alright, minor spoiler. It's not that big of a spoiler. There's some crazy things going down in the new volume that just released. We're not going to talk about any of that. So anyway, they go into the forest. They're picking the herbs, doing the thing, doing what they normally do. Then they see this fucking, I think, I don't know his name. It wasn't Direwolf, Vargas. Anyway, this big dog animal wolf looking thing chasing the little goblin, and everyone says we should. All the other goblins like we should just leave that guy and dip out. Enri's like we're not gonna leave him. So Inferior does his thing with magic, stops it. Then you actually see Enri using her commander class skills, telling the goblins to duck at the perfect moment, and they react to it, and they finish killing the animal. And the little goblin tells them about his family. She's like, well, you guys can come live in our village. We're not evil. And at the nighttime, well, before that, the little goblin reveals like, hey, there's things going around in the forest that we don't know about. This, that, and the third. That's why things have been changing, and they're using goblins as food, so we're trying to escape. And later that night, the Jugum and the other goblins, they capture 5 ogres, and she pretty much bluffs away just like Ain's in front of the ogres and scares the fucking living hell out of them, so they can join the village. And she gets the ogres to join the village. So after that, Enri decides to go to the Riesti's capital, well, Riesti's kingdom, and sell the herbs she found. Now she was going there, she went to the gate, strict check. The little mage guy looks at her, sees she has a horn. He's like, this thing is worth thousands of gold. Obviously, Ainz thought it was a trash ass item, so he just gave it to her. So she was thinking Ainz gave her something very important. Luckily for her, Momon was coming along and was like, she's a friend of mine. Let her through. She's like, oh yeah, you're the guy Inferior was with, so she got lucky with that again. Meets Nabe, tells Nabe she looks better than Luspirienga. Man, there's a lot of stuff that this girl has been through. Tell her that. And anyway, after all that, she just wants to go to the temple and see if they can bring someone to a village to see what's going on, protect them from the things that are going on in the Great Forest of Tob. And Momon finds this out, and so Momon finds this out, and you obviously know what's happening between Ainz and Luspirienga at that point. Scolds her for not telling him anything, but this is about Enri. So she buys the new weapon, she goes out, she gives them to the goblins and she tells them like, thank you for all your hard work. Now that I'm thinking about it, actually, I messed up. She didn't go to the temple to ask for help. She went to the Adventurers Guild and asked for help. And at first the receptionist like blew her off, but she's like, oh, you're friends with Momon, of course I'll take the information. She looks into it much more detail. So she comes from Enrianto, and she comes back to the village, and they tell her, we're gonna make you the new village chief, whatever. She refuses, but she ends up accepting because she knows the goblins protect the village. She's the village chief. Now, this is the big moment where Ainz sends the undead troll and the other troll to attack the village just to see how the defenses are. Anyway, the troll attacks the village. No one dies. The goblins do their thing. Jugum gets that new sword that the troll had, and everything's move on. Nazarick invites Enri and Inferior and Nelmu to them because Inferior made a new potion, so they brought them there, and they did this, that, and third. Enjoyed his house, did all that. Now we're gonna move on to the Magic Castle of the Squirrel. This is the meaty part of her characterization so far. I'm telling you, whew, this is where she really begins to shine in, which is what I'm gonna have my personal theories about what's gonna happen to her later after this arc. So anyway, Irons is doing this, that, and the third. He already been to the Empire and already declared war. Well, he declared war. He's like, we're in an alliance. So they know that Irons is the one that saved Karn Village, so they send the Crown Prince there. And that jerk, like, he's a massive jerk. I'm telling you, this guy, he was gonna, from the fact that they made him wait in the light novel, he said he's gonna hang a couple people just because they made him wait a little bit instead of instantly opening the doors. So he got what was coming to him. So after he states that, you know, they open the doors, they see the ogres, they plan this elaborate attack the army, they raid the village, they shoot fire arrows, and as Enri and the rest of the village are leaving, they're pretty much gonna escape without the goblins and let the men stay back and fight. She decides to not do that. So she blows the second horn of the Goblin General, and that's when the army shows up. Now, unbeknownst to her, she had filled 3 conditions. So no matter where I look, they always say either 3 conditions or certain conditions for the Goblin army to be summoned. Because the horn of the Goblin General was just like a trash drop in Yggdrasil. So no one ever really found out how to use it. But the author came out and stated that the goblins summoned by her are not from the New World or Yggdrasil. It's just an existence that applies to the data born from the horn. So there's no life expectancy among the goblins, so they can essentially live forever. Yeah, so they can essentially live forever, but even though they were summoned, they still have to eat and sleep. But here's a weird thing, like if they die, their body can't be recovered, it just disappears. So that's what we know about the horn. It has to have 3 conditions to apply. Now the first condition I would say is it has to be used by a low-level commander. Second condition would be, I'll say, the initial troop has to be on the brink of destruction. Now those are 2 things right there that she has already. And the third one I would say is they have to have some points in the sergeant class as well. They have to have points in the sergeant and general class as well. Because if you look at Enri's job classes, she's a level 1 farmer, a level 1 sergeant, level 2 commander, and a level 2 general. Now I think those are the conditions for you to actually achieve to summon the actual goblin army to come. Those are the things I think, but some people also told me it was from the fact that her home settling was also being under attack, so they can also be one of them. Maybe the general, commander, and sergeant class all go into one category instead of being broken down. And yeah, that makes more sense. It makes more sense for those to be in the one condition instead of being separated into 2 other conditions. Yeah, actually, that makes way more sense. So after she summons the Goblin army, she gets 5,000 goblins. And these are just the members of the troops, not their numbers. So she summoned Goblin Hoplites, Goblin Beast Riders, Goblin Paladins on White Wolves, Goblin Longbow Archers, Goblin Magic Support Squad, Goblin Magic Artillery Squad, Goblin Medic Squad, Goblin Musician Squad, Goblin Assassination Squad, and the Red Cap Honor Guards. There's also a unit called Goblin Rear Echelon Support Unit, and Goblin Weather Forecaster, the Goblin Strategist, and the Goblin Blacksmith. And all these add up to a total of 5,000 goblins. Now, this doesn't matter, but in a web novel, when you use this horn, they can only stay for about an hour. But that doesn't apply to the light novel. So with this, she effectively has the strongest army out of all 3 kingdoms, minus Nazareth. It's amazing that you think of this. So if she wanted to, if Irons wasn't there, she just so happened to get those 2 horns without his help, she could have took over all 3 kingdoms. Even though I'm pretty sure the slang theocracy would have came in and Zeshi and her brother would have fucking ran through all the goblins like they were nothing. But we're not talking about them. And one thing I like to think about is how Jugum in the original Goblin troop, now that the army is there, like Jugum used to be the de facto leader of the goblins. Now he's just a low-level soldier inside the goblin army. So I wonder how he's going along with Emmy now, since she has like 4,999 other goblins besides him. So after this, they repel the army and screw them. Lusperinga kills Bonbarrow, huh? Just like that fucking monster from Monster Hunter Iceborne. Oh, God, no wonder I hate that motherfucker. Anyway, all right, let's move on. So when Asgo fucking makes a peace treaty with the dwarves, this point in time, Enri and Inferior have been married, and they've been living peacefully in the Sorcerer Kingdom. And now that there's a peace treaty with the dwarves have came to their small village, and it's really starting to flourish. And she even says this is like a small city now. So what I want to see in a future novel, even though I did get spoiled by something not minor, it was pretty major. I was kind of upset that someone just spoiled me about it. But what I want to see is, yeah, I needed some water. But what I want to see is her leading the city. I want to see Karn Village be built up from a small village into a small city, and her being the mayor of the city. So that means she'll have some pull in the Sorcerer's Kingdom. So like, the Vines call all the executives of the Sorcerer Kingdom, the leader of the Adventurers Guild, and Enri. They come, they have a little round table inside the capital, and they just talk, tell them what's going on with their cities, tell them how the people are feeling. I also want to see the Sorcerer's Kingdom build up even more, because in the Holy Paladin, I think it was called Holy Paladin art. Anyway, when he went to the Holy Kingdom, we see that the Sorcerer's Kingdom is where it's at. Although there's way more demi-humans now than there are regular people, still, like, I love the build-up of like cities and small things that come from like that start small and just become something great, like humble beginnings. That's what I love. So I want to see her city. I'm gonna stop calling it a village, because it's gonna be a city. It's gonna be one of the first and most important cities of the Sorcerer's Kingdom. So all we can do now is just think about what's gonna happen in the next volume 14. It's already out. We just gotta wait for it to be translated at this point. It's translated a little bit on Reddit, but I want it in the good old novel format. I want to flip through a book. Obviously, I'm not going to get the books for some time now, but I want to scroll down instead of clicking from link to link to link to link to read the next volume. All we can do is wait, and all we know is Enri is pretty important in the Sorcerer's Kingdom now, so I hope no one tries to attack her or hurt her or anything. Next person I want to talk about is Zarusu Shasha. Everyone knows that freaky ass lizard man. Got it on down before he thought he was finna die. Well, he did die. He just lucky he came back. So now that her village is pretty much a flourishing city at this point, I like to imagine that every now and then there's goblins that come to the village and request to join the village. And I like to imagine that the goblin strategist at the point, or someone standing at like the toll road, talks to them and asks them what they're gonna do. Just imagine, like, so why do you want to join this village? Well, I heard that this place is pretty cool, the goblins and them here, so I would like to join. Me and my son, just me and the boy. There's no one else. Everyone else died, so you know, kind of hard out here living in the Great Forest of Toad with all them things going on around here. Oh yeah, I see. That could very well be a problem. Well, let me ask you, what are some of your hobbies? Yeah, we need to know some of your hobbies, because I know how goblins like to get down. Hobbies? Well, you see, one of my main hobbies would be find nice young women, virgin preferably, and me and my son, we just tag team. And after we're done, they have some more babies. We'll kill the babies, because we can't have anyone threaten my hierarchy. I already got one little midget over here, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna be a handful when he grow up. Then after that, we'll pretty much kill the lady and we'll move on to the next one. Wow, okay, that just got really dark. I want you to know one thing, we don't do that here. Anyone who's a citizen of the Sorcerer's Kingdom shall not be touched. So if you have a problem with that, you can go back out there to the Great Forest of Toad and deal with whatever monsters are out there building that structure, okay? Well, you drive a hard bargain, but I'm in, brother. You know what? Maybe this would be a good point to turn around me and my son's lives. I like to imagine that's how all the interactions go when they're inviting new demon humans to the city. They're like, can I eat people? No, you can't eat people. Can I rape them? No, you can't hurt them unless they're not from this kingdom. But keep that shit to yourselves, okay? Jesus.